Hello everyone and welcome back to another trophy log video. Another month of trophy hunting in the bag, and just like every month we're going to go through the list of all the trophies I've earned, talk through the easy ones, the hard ones, the fun ones, the not so fun ones, and intersperse some questions from all of you in between that discussion. So right at the top I will say, if you have questions you want featured in a future trophy video, please leave them in the comments. I'm always taking questions and I'll just add them to the growing list of questions that I have from folks, and we'll answer them here in an upcoming month's videos. So don't be afraid. If you've asked questions before, feel free to ask again, and feel free to ask multiples. You know, the more the better. The more the merrier, I say, if we want to keep adding some questions into these videos, which I think is a good time. I think it's quite fun. So we're going to start out this one today with Elden Ring Night Rain as the first game that I played right at the top of June, right when this game came out. And as you can see from the trophy progress, I have not unlocked or done too much in this game. It's structured in such a way where to get the platinum, you ultimately need to defeat 8 bosses. I guess I should roll it back even further. What is Night Rain? Night Rain is a 3-player cooperative roguelike version of Elden Ring. So it also has some like battle royale energy to it, where there's a constantly shrinking circle that you're trying to stay within, and then within the kind of the confines of where the game is placing you, you're trying to do all the things that you do in Elden Ring, just on a much more condensed time scale. You're trying to level up, find new weapons, upgrade new weapons, find items, beat bosses, things like that. So we have a small group of my friends from the Discord for my podcast where, whenever 3 of us happen to be available, we put a squad together, we go out and we get the thing done. We are not great at this game. I'm not great at really any Souls-like game, but, this one being kind of a fast-paced multiplayer game, it can be kind of hard to coordinate 3 people, especially if we only have 2 people and we need like one random person. They tend to be very impatient or clumsy, or, they make one small mistake and they just disconnect, and it's like, well, that's not going to get anybody anywhere. But that aside, like I mentioned, it's structured where there's kind of 8 final bosses of a run. You play a run by playing 15-20 minutes or so. You get to a first boss, then the map kind of resets a bit, everything gets a little harder. You do the second day that culminates in the second boss, and then you do the final day, which is just one big boss fight at the end. We have managed to beat 2 of the 8 bosses, and honestly I haven't played it in a week or 2 here, so I should probably get back to it. But yeah, we finished up the first 2. The first one is like you're kind of forced into it, and then the second one we were able to get in just a couple of tries. And yeah, alongside this, I've been working on some other stuff, like you have to beat a boss with every character, so I'm trying to vary the character that I play as, things like that. So my trophies here are really just me unlocking some of the optional characters, defeating those first 2 bosses, and then a couple miscellaneous things like, getting a legendary weapon in a run for the first time, stuff like that. I'm surprised at how common this game is. I know Souls games always have very common trophy lists, or like highly unlocked trophy lists, because Souls people are very dedicated and very hardcore. But this one, I'm surprised, is sitting at like a 26%, because this one is cooperative. So I expected there to be a little bit more difficulties from people in finding a group to put together, but apparently people are not having an issue, so good on them. All right, let's grab our first question here. This one comes in from Bamboozle Shenanigan. Thank you for your question. They talk about some of the trophies that they earned this month, which I always love to hear about, so please let me know in the comments what trophies you've been earning. They say, I do have a question for you. What do you do for work? I'm always curious what people do for work who also trophy hunt, as well as make YouTube videos along with regular responsibilities. And I will say, as you can tell from my output on some occasions, it is hard to find the time to make the videos in addition to everything else, but that's why I try to do my videos relatively low tech, low res. It has to be something where I can just turn a camera on and start talking. Otherwise, I don't have a lot of free time in my life to edit, 15, 20-hour videos. As much as I would love to make cool, high production value videos like that. But To answer your question, what do I do for work? I have a job that, like, it's usually not worth me trying to explain the exact specifics of it to people. What I will say is that I work at a local university, and I'm in the IT organization, and I'm in like a relatively low technical requirements job. So like, I'm not a very techie guy. When you say you work in IT, people think of, you know, someone writing code, or they think of someone fixing other people's computer issues, managing servers, stuff like that. I am more of like, for those that do work in a more corporate environment, I'm more of like a business analyst, and I administer one of the software applications that the other IT staff uses. So I'm kind of like a support slash guidance analyst role for other IT folks. It makes sense if you're there day to day. It makes less sense to just explain to people. It's not the type of job that everyone's familiar with, like programmer, firefighter, astronaut. It's the type of thing that you only really like know about when you are that deep into a corporate structure. Even though it's not corporate, again, it's a university. All right, next game. And this one I did the entire thing this month. Wolfenstein: The New Order. I have never played any of these modern Wolfenstein games until now. I did play Return to Castle Wolfenstein on the original Xbox quite a bit. I actually used to play the multiplayer in that quite a bit. But I never checked out any of these new ones, despite many of my friends suggesting that I get around to them. And this is the first case where, you know, I finally went and did it. And I have to say, it was quite a pleasant experience. Between this and the new Doom games, they really did a great job bringing those old boomer shooters forward and kind of like giving them a new personality while still maintaining some of the spirit of the old one. Where Doom goes over the top and like it's really ridiculous and kind of leans into the camp of Doom lore, Wolfenstein tries to like balance the line between campy and also quite serious. And I actually think that they pull off that balance pretty well. It's not an easy thing to do. So I got to give them their props for that. But it was a really fun campaign. Very, very enjoyable to play through. I did it on the second hardest difficulty. I know that people have differing opinions on how hard you should make the game when you play it, but I did it on the second hardest, which I thought was a really good balance between needing to try but not getting walled in like a particular encounter for 2 hours. And the platinum experience is actually really enjoyable. You're going to, play through the story. You're going to get a bunch of story-related trophies. You will get a bunch of collectible-related trophies, obviously, for getting all the various collectibles, including the Enigma codes, the letters, the gold items, stuff like that. And then there's a bunch of trophies for unlocking perks, which I thought was a really cool idea. And the way that the perks are unlocked in the game is just by doing certain actions. So stealth perk 1 might be, get 10 stealth kills. And then that might unlock the ability to use throwing knives. And then stealth perk 2 might be get 20 kills with throwing knives. And then, so on and so on and so on. So they kind of build on each other. Each of the perks that you earn unlock a trophy and also unlock some in-game benefit, added ammo capacity or something, new weapon attachments, stuff like that. And some of them are, kind of like number of kill based like that, where it's like do X amount of things, Y amount of times. But some of them are more creative, where they're like, oh, kill a commander specifically with a grenade or stuff like that. So as long as you're paying attention to them, they're very enjoyable to go for. They're pretty easy to farm if you find a good spot for it, and it makes the playthrough of the game coupled with the platinum experience very cohesive, and it makes it very fun because it's encouraging a lot of variety in a game that is offering you a lot of tools, but you might otherwise be inclined to kind of favor one particular play style. So you do all those, and then the last remaining trophies that you need to unlock are for beating the game on I Am Death Incarnate and on Uber. I actually didn't get the I Am Death Incarnate trophy because, even though this is the difficulty I played it on, because I started the game on the normal difficulty, and then halfway through like the first stage, I moved it up to this difficulty. So technically part of my playthrough wasn't on I Am Death Incarnate, so I didn't get it. But you are able to go back and earn the hardest difficulty trophy by just going to the chapter select and playing the last mission and the final boss on the hardest difficulty. So a bit of a time saver, saves you one additional playthrough, and I felt like the difficulty I played on still sort of like encapsulated the spirit of difficult play. I don't think that Uber would be too hard to do. It probably would be enjoyable if you are the type of person that enjoys like veteran in a Call of Duty game, but it was fun. It was fun to go for both of those, and then yeah, knocked those out, and we got our platinum trophy. So really enjoyable time. I would say I highly recommend this game. It came out in 2014, believe it or not, and after all that, still holds up. All right, let's go to another question here. We have one from my buddy and IndieQuest co-host, Captain Drachma, who says, do you recall the point that you made the choice to go for PlayStation trophies rather than Xbox achievements, and why did you make that choice? That's a good question. It was not a conscious choice from me, and there was an enormous gap in the middle. I have always appreciated achievements, but going back to the launch of the 360, like everybody, 2005, 2006, I was deep in achievement hunting. I was addicted to it just like all the rest of us were. I was renting my Avatar game to get my 1,000 achievement points. I was simulating 30 years of careers in Madden 06 or whatever it was to get my achievement points. I really enjoyed that for a couple of years, and then I just kind of, as we do in life, naturally fell off. I always continued to play games, but I just didn't really focus on the trophies so much anymore. That was especially the case so that was like maybe 2007, 2008. I got distracted and fell off, and then it was 2014, 2015 actually when I got my PS4, and that became my clear and away dominant console from that generation. And so trophies just kind of became the thing by default of the fact that I was playing on PlayStation, so that's the place where I could earn achievements of some kind. And from 2015 to like 2020, I would say I wasn't super like hardcore trophy hunter. I was less focused on it then than I am now. And it wasn't until 2020, really, when I got into my rivalry that's been well documented and was a great time here on YouTube with Louie, who also has a great channel and does great trophy videos sometimes. It was my rivalry with him that kind of like really reactivated the bug in me. I always had I still appreciated going for platinums, and I talked to my friends about it, and I think I did more trophy hunting than your average person. But that rivalry really kind of brought back the enthusiasm in a big way. And I think there's a lot of us, for whatever reason, whether it was COVID or whatever, that there's a lot of folks that found themselves with a renewed interest in trophy hunting around that time, which I think is really cool because it makes for some very fun, YouTube channels, discussions, videos, all sorts of stuff. So, all right, our next couple of games we'll do kind of back to back because there's only one trophy apiece. But this next one is the trophy that I am most proud of for this entire month, probably this entire year. I'm so happy to have it done, and that is in Balatro. We unlocked the Completionist Plus trophy. That is a gold sticker on every Joker, or put another way, that is winning a gold stake run, so the hardest difficulty you can play in Balatro, with every single Joker in the game. And this was a really fun grind. Last month I got Completionist Plus for winning with every deck, and I thought that Plus would be the hard part. Turns out no. Once you finish Completionist Plus and you've done it with every deck, you probably already have 40 to 50% of the Jokers done on gold stake. And then once you're competent at the game, it's really fun to be able to play the deck that you want to play in the style that you want to play it, and just try to find ways to weave those Jokers in. So I was worried for a long time that the legendary Jokers would be the hard ones, but thankfully I was able to lock in and complete runs with all of them pretty early. And then it was just a matter of usually getting runs going that I felt like had potential and you could win on a build that was maybe only 4 Jokers, and then you have that one kind of flex spot where you just kind of hope to pull in one random Joker and kind of hold on to him and let him ride it out. And that's how you get some of the quote-unquote weaker Jokers, the ones that are either not as helpful, not as powerful, or maybe just don't fit your play style very much. So, I mean, Obviously, this is like a big trophy. The total grind, like from the time I started the game till now, playtime, I'm at about 250 hours in Balatro. So 1.32% rarity. Very pleased with that, and feels good. I only have one trophy left to get the platinum, which is actually a much easier trophy for doing every challenge run, but I'm holding that trophy off because I currently have like 220 platinums, and I want Balatro to be my 250th platinum. So I'm actually going to keep Balatro tucked away for a long time, and then we'll come back to Balatro when the time is right, when I'm at platinum 249. So that is Balatro, and then we're going to get into Norn 9. Now, why am I playing Norn 9 Var Commons? For those that don't know, this is a visual novel. It's an otome visual novel. So you kind of like, you're sort of like choosing a route focused on one particular male character in the game. And it also has like a little bit of like a sci-fi bent to it. This is a game, if you look, I started this game back in 2015, and I played just the first couple chapters, and it just wasn't my thing. Not that it's a bad game, but I felt like the writing was a little slow, and I wasn't super interested or invested in the plot. It just wasn't for me, that's fine. Not every game has to be for me. But obviously that put it on my trophy list here. And if I'm being totally honest, I was perfectly fine ignoring it. I was like, I don't really want to go back and force myself to play a visual novel I'm not interested in. It's fine. It can just sit on my backlog. However, then over on True Trophies, I joined the what's called the Bonkers Arbitrary Trophy Hunt, or the Bath Challenge for 2025. And the way that this challenge works on True Trophies is they just pull 30 completely random trophies that are unearned on your profile. They put them on a list, and they say, go unlock these trophies. And you know, there's no consideration to difficulty, to game, to length, any of that. And you can see one of the trophies that I got put on there was Audio File in Norn 9 Var Commons, which you get for unlocking all the background music. So I was like, well, I do want to get this challenge completed. You know, I want to get 15 of these 30 if possible, although that's going to be pretty dang hard. So I'm going to go back to Norn 9. So I've gone back and started, you know, bursting my way through some of the routes, following a guide to make sure I can go in and get that Audio File trophy unlocked. I do plan on continuing this and doing more. You'll see a couple of these other games, actually. But, yeah, the chances that I will get all 15 of these are pretty slim. I might make a video at the end of the challenge, which is in the middle of July, on how I did and why some were harder than others. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that. You know, I know this is kind of like a niche within a niche, this little random 30 trophy challenge that I signed up for, but I think it could be fun to talk through how I feel like I got kind of unlucky. It's pretty ridiculous, some of the things that they gave me. And you can see here, so we'll jump to that one too. For Trials of Mana, this is also one that I went and unlocked the one trophy I needed, which was Ultimate Guard, which is just for kind of leveling a job to the max level. Not too particularly difficult. It's something you can get pretty early in post game. I had previously in 2020 finished this game. Great action RPG, by the way. Very fun. You know, if you like kind of, if you're ever in a mood for a game that's relatively like simple in a good way, just like good, clean fun, this is a game to play. But it was funny. I finished the game, and then I moved on. And when I booted up my save file, you know, I booted up my finished save file, and it played a cutscene right after I loaded the save. And after that cutscene was done, it popped a couple of trophies for finishing individual people's stories. So I guess I just never watched like the post credits cutscene, and I got a couple of free silvers out of it before I went and got that other one that I needed. So that was pretty nice. And yeah, it was good to revisit this. This was just like an hour one night just for fun. All right, next question here. We got a bunch from Churro Boy, so we're gonna chip away at a couple of these here. Says, what's your favorite game from your least favorite genre? I don't really have a least favorite genre. I like most genres. There's some that I don't play very much. Like I'm not into like, you know, intense 4X like strategy games, or I'm not a big like in my personal life, I'm not a big sports fan, which usually translates to not being a big simulation sports fan. I guess I would pick that, like simulation sports. If I was to pick one of my favorite games in that genre, like obviously I could like kind of cheese it and say like, oh, NBA Jam, but that's really so arcadey that it's kind of different. If we're talking like pure like sports games, the one that I actually for whatever reason did have some fun with way back in the day playing with my neighbor was NFL 2K2. Yeah, I would queue up my local sports team and go through a season and or play against him, and we had a pretty good time with that. It's enjoyable. So I would say solid game, that NFL 2K2, worth your time. All right, next one up, another game that I started that I'm absolutely loving, and that is 428 Shibuya Scramble. This is a visual novel, interactive story, but unlike other visual novels, everything in this game is shot with real world scenes and actors and footage. So you're seeing actual photographs from around Shibuya and occasionally like little video clips and stuff. And then you're just trying to unravel this mystery. It's a mystery about this woman who her sister has been kidnapped by this mysterious organization. You're not really sure the motivations and why, and you're trying to get her back and figure out what's going on. And all that is told through a story with multiple intersecting characters. So I love stories that do this, but it does the thing where there's like 4 or 5 protagonists that are all kind of leading their own lives, and those lives impact each other in ways that they don't really understand, like small ways, like, oh, maybe this person hailed a taxi, so then, someone else who's doing a completely different thing, when they needed a taxi, they couldn't find one. And you're kind of choose your own adventure book style playing through, trying to find decisions that will help you progress everyone's story without locking anybody out. It like actually has like a real timeline where you can see like at 11 o'clock, 11:05, 11:10, here's where the events that were happening. And you're trying to choose things that will make every character kind of be able to progress their own storyline and get further into the timeline. And so I've played through the 10 o'clock time block and the 11 o'clock time block. And I've also cleared all the bad endings. Oh, this is for clearing the blocks. This is for the bad endings. So obviously, given that structure, you'll find a lot of bad endings as you play through. You'll find situations where characters die, or situations where characters are stranded, or where they give up on their goals or whatever, based on the wrong choices that you made. But you can always at any point jump back to previous spots in the timeline, change your choice, and then see how things play out. That's actually like part of the mechanics of the game. So getting a bad ending is not necessarily a bad thing in this game. It's expected, but you can go back and like try to find the ones that you didn't get the first time. So definitely going to keep playing through this one. I'm absolutely in love with it. The story is so fun. It has that great balance of like earnest and genuine while also being goofy and over the top. That is a really hard tone to strike, but they found it here in 428 Shibuya Scramble. So yeah, super high recommendation. This was originally a Wii game that was only in Japan, and it was ported to PlayStation 4 several years ago. So PS4 fans, check it out. It's a good one. All right, let's do another question here. We have another one from Churro Boy. It says, excluding Astrobot and Sackboy, in your opinion, who would make a good mascot for PlayStation? I don't know if anyone could ever beat Astrobot as a mascot for PlayStation. They should lean into Astrobot harder than they already are, if I'm being honest. But they could maybe do like the big jelly character from Loco Roco. He's got kind of like market appeal. You can make plushies out of him and stuff like that. And I feel like you want something that is appealing to kids and adults. Maybe Loco Roco's a little too far on the kids side. Not too sure, but I think that the Loco Roco character could be good. Obviously, you could lean into like Daxter. That could be a good one. Sly Cooper, Cat from Gravity Rush. There's a lot of decent options, but none of them come close. None of them hold a candle to Astrobot. Astrobot, best boy. All right, the next game I played, they released some new DLC for Drums Rock. So, having the 100% on this, I had to go back and clean it up. This was fun because if we go all the way to the bottom here, the songs that they added were all from anime. It was like the anime music pack, so intro and outro songs from popular shows. I don't keep up with a lot of modern anime, so I didn't recognize a lot of these. I'm pretty sure it's from more recent shows, but not stuff that I was aware of, other than, of course, they did Cruel Angel's Thesis from Neon Genesis Evangelion. So I went back and like cleaned those up. The difficulty was not too bad, you know? I would put these kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of drums rock songs. Not too brutal, but not too easy, not like gimmies. The first one took me several tries to get. Then I was kind of warmed up and I got the next ones fairly quickly. So yeah, and if you've never seen this game before in like previous videos of mine, this is a VR drumming game. So in PlayStation VR 2, you're doing like air drumming with the controllers, and the way that they release their DLC packs is every song gets 4 trophies, 1 for each difficulty, and they stack. So as long as you can beat it on extreme, you'll get all of the lower difficulty trophies for that too, which makes the trophies honestly very easy to unlock. And yeah, really, really fun. So we are back to 100% there. We are now at, how many trophies does this game have? 210 trophies just in this one game. So whew, drums rock. Way to be. All right, let's do another question from Churro Boy's list. If you could exclude the current mascot from other game companies, i.e. Xbox and Nintendo, who would you choose and why? If I could exclude the current mascot from other game companies. So are we saying like, so who would I put for Xbox and Nintendo's mascots if we couldn't use their existing ones? I mean, Nintendo has like a couple, right? They have Mario and they kind of have Kirby as well, I would say are their 2 big ones. If they were going to not use either of those, or Yoshi, I guess I'll discount Yoshi too. I would say that the Pikmin and Captain Olimar have like the cute energy you need to be Nintendo's mascot, for sure. And as for Xbox, I don't know, man. Xbox, I feel like their games just don't lend themselves that well to mascots. Like, I don't want a mascot for a company to be like a human guy. You know, I don't want it to be Marcus Phoenix or something like that, or Master Chief. That's boring. A mascot shouldn't just be like a video game dude. It should be like a creature. It should be something playful, fun, creative. So, I don't know. What do you got for me, Xbox? What's creative that's in the tank that's like more cartoony like that? They have Rare now, so you know, maybe something from Rare's back catalog they could maybe revive and use, like Banjo-Kazooie. Go with that. Bring my boy Banjo back. All right, the last game that I played here in June is one that just came out. It's called Lost in Random: The Eternal Die. And this is an action roguelike, very similar to Hades. If you have played Hades, you will 100% intuit everything about this game. It's not derivative of Hades, but like they had such a clear inspiration, right down to the way the game controls, to the font, to the structure, everything. You know, it's a roguelike where you go through 3 levels and then get to like the 4th level that leads to the final boss. You have multiple weapons you unlock: a sword, a spear, a bow. You unlock talents from something very similar to the mirror in Hades. Very, very Hades inspired, but it does its own stuff, and it's very, very well put together. Like, I'll just stop and say, people, this is like a bit of a tangent, but people often talk about games like you can only ever use a good idea once. I am personally a fan of you making your own thing, but also I'm a fan of you making your version of an existing thing. Like, Hades is an amazing game. I don't think it's a bad thing if other folks do their version of Hades. Obviously, those other versions are not going to hit as hard as the first one did, because you really do get points for like creativity and novelty. But there's no reason we can't make like a really well constructed, solid 9 out of 10 version that does almost as well as Hades, but just, you know, a little different and maybe a little less exciting. So in saying that, I've been really enjoying my time with the Eternal Die, and there's a lot of fun trophies to go for in this one. I don't want to scroll down. This is such a new game. I don't want to spoil the list. I will say there's trophies for obviously finishing a run, which I've done. Some of the hardest trophies which I've been earning are for beating each of the bosses without taking a hit, which is, you really have to learn their patterns and stuff like that. Can be very stressful, and you kind of have, you probably need good builds too that have very strong output and weapon damage. I've been enjoying a lot of builds with the bow and builds with multicast that cast like icicles and poison out, so I can sort of like sit back, use charged attacks, and then also like hit them with slowing and damage over time at the same time, which makes me be able to play a little safer and get some of those boss kills. But really quite a surprise for me. I never played the first Lost in Random, and this is just one that seemed good, and I think is on Game Pass and making a bit of a splash there. Some other folks and friends of mine have been talking about this one, and ultimately I decided to pick it up, and I was really pleased with it so far. I finished a run, but I certainly don't plan on stopping. You know, I'm about 10 hours in, and I'm gonna definitely see through the platinum and keep playing, because it's really an enjoyable game. All right, we'll do one question with our foot out the door here, and then we'll call it a day. We got Churro Boy says, if you could think of one PC exclusive game or game without trophy support that you'd love to see. A PC exclusive game that I'd love to see with trophy support. Honestly, when I think of PC games, the game that I want more than anything to get trophy support would be StarCraft 2. I love StarCraft 2. I still watch StarCraft 2 all the time. It has its own in-game achievement system, so it would map really cleanly to trophies. And I think it'd be really fun to replay those campaigns, earn all those little creative trophies, because they were creative. It was a lot of like, you know, go above and beyond in this mission, or perform really well on this mission. And I think that those would be fun to have on my PlayStation account, and it just can be a good excuse to replay, you know, some games that I really love. So even with StarCraft 1 could do the same thing. StarCraft Brood War, and StarCraft 2's 3 expansions. That's what I would choose. So that's it. My month of trophy hunting there. Not that many platinums this time. A lot of games that I'm like chipping away at. I think Wolfenstein might have been the only platinum I got. But all that said, it was still just like a lot of, you know, great gaming. So thank you all for watching. If there's anything that you've unlocked in the last month, I'd love to hear about it. If there are any questions you want to ask for a future video, please don't be afraid to ask them down below. And we will chat then. Peace.